Hi there, I'm Belinda Meredith, and today I'm going to read to you my twisted fairy tale, Ash Black and the 8 Dwarfs. So settle in, get comfy, and let's begin. Everyone knows the story of Snow White. However, few, if any, know the story of Ash Black, her twin sister. To know Ash, you must forget everything you know or have been told about Snow White. For Ash was nothing like her sister. Neither kind, sweet, or caring, Ash was more horrid than Rumpelstiltskin, more despicable than the big bad wolf, and more heartless than Cinderella's stepmother. It is for these reasons that Ash is never spoken about, and that you have never heard this story before now. Like her sister, Ash lived in a cottage in the woods. She too lived with dwarves, 8 to be exact. But there are meant to be 7, I hear you say. That would be true if this was Snow's story, but remember, this is the story of Ash. Ash was competitive and greedy, and had to have more than Snow in every way. More toys, the most candy, and in this case, more dwarves. Unsurprisingly, Ash's crew of dwarves were not a happy bunch. Prickles, Misery, Animosity, Surly, Angry, Nasty, Sulky, and Brash were the names of Ash's dwarves, and they had the personalities to match. The dwarves, who did not believe in manners or sharing, loved to fight. They would fight every day over the silliest of things, such as who ate the last of the cereal, who stole the TV remote, or who hadn't restocked the toilet paper. Ash did not help matters either. She was always doing cheeky things, like deliberately hiding the remote, throwing out the cereal, or using the toilet paper for arts and crafts, in the hopes that an argument would start. The only thing she enjoyed more was planning the downfall of Snow White. Her enjoyment, however, was always short-lived. Ash's plans were never successful, and her failings always made her grumpy. The bad mood that followed would range from door slamming to epic tantrum in severity. On one particular epic tantrum throwing day, plates were smashed, chairs were kicked over. In her rage, she even hurled her shoe at one of the dwarves, hitting him square on the nose. "Ouch!" moaned Prickles as he rubbed his nose. "That hurt." Ash ignored him, busy looking for other things to throw. Misery, one of the oldest and bravest of the dwarfs, spoke next. "I know we're not supposed to speak of her, but what did Snow do to make you dislike her so?" Ash bristled with anger at the mention of her sister. She considered lobbing the other shoe at the nosy dwarf, but instead she sighed as she sat down and began to tell her story. Growing up with Snow had been hard. Everybody noticed Snow for her beauty, her singing, her kindness. And although they were twins, Ash was not like her sister in looks, talent, or personality. Ash recalled with sadness the day that she and Snow had entered a singing contest. Snow, as always, went first. She sang with such sweet melody and the perfect pitch, hitting the highest of notes. So beautiful was her song that everyone was captivated. Even the birds from the nearby forest gathered to hear her sing. Ash's turn was next. Determined not to be outdone by her twin, she filled her lungs and opened her mouth to attempt the highest of high notes. Baby screamed and windows shattered from the deafening screeching sound that came from Ash's mouth. Ash's face turned red with embarrassment as the villagers roared with laughter. Or, she explained, there was the time when the girls had been invited to the spring ball. It was the event of the season. Everybody would be there, including Prince Antony, who Ash quite fancied. Everything was going well until dessert was served. Ash was annoyed that Snow had been given a bigger piece of cake than her. Consumed by greed, she gulped down her piece before slicing a second, large enough to feed a small village. Ash stood in front of Snow, gloating as she began to eat the massive piece of cake. Refusing to share, she stubbornly ate it all, not stopping even when her stomach began to gurgle uncomfortably. Triumphant in her mission, Ash returned to the dance floor. She was having a good time, despite her queasy tummy. Ignoring it, she continued to dance. As she twirled, Ash noticed with delight that the prince was heading her way. Prince Anthony bowed before Ash, extending his hand. Ash opened her mouth to speak, but instead burped right in his face as the rumbling from her tummy escaped from her mouth. Disgusted, the prince asked Snow to dance instead. Ash left the ball in a jealous rage, furious that Snow had stolen her prince. So now you know why I despise Snow White, Ash told the dwarves. I got tired of her being everybody's favourite, sick of her ruining my life. Ash's desire to take down Snow White took a turn in her favour when her father, the king, remarried. His new wife, aka the Evil Queen, despised Snow as much as, if not more, than her. Ash was surprised, but mostly intrigued, when the Queen dropped in on her unexpectedly one day. "Snow White is a menace and needs to be eliminated!" the Queen shrieked. "I agree, but I have tried and failed." "Maybe, but you have never had me before. Never had this," declared the Queen, as she placed an unusually shiny red apple in front of Ash. Ash stared at it. How was an apple going to bring down Snow? "It's a poisoned apple," explained the Queen. "One bite will put a person into a sleep so deep they will never awaken. I want you to give it to Snow." Ash agreed without hesitation. She wanted Snow gone. Here was her chance. And so a note was sent to Snow requesting that they meet in the forest the very next day. Ash rose early the following morning and headed to the forest to await Snow's arrival. She paced the forest floor impatiently. Never had she felt so nervous. A twig snapped, signalling Snow's approach. Ash readied herself for the encounter as her sister appeared from behind a tree. "I'm so glad to have received your letter," Snow said sweetly. "I thought it was time we made up. Here, I have something for you," said Ash, as she placed the apple in Snow's hand. "I have a gift for you too," Snow smiled, handing Ash a scrapbook. Ash felt a mixture of curiosity and suspicion as she opened the book. She was not expecting what she saw. It was a picture of her and Snow hugging, the biggest smiles on their faces. Underneath, Snow had written, "To the best sister ever, I love you." Ash continued to flick through the book. On every page, more happy pictures and messages of love. Ash was overcome with emotion as memories of all their good times together came flooding back. Her eyes filled with tears as all her anger fell away. She realised Snow was not to blame, but rather she had allowed her anger and jealousy to get the better of her. Ash wiped the tears from her eyes, ready to apologise to her sister for all the bad things she had ever done or said. Her tears cleared in time to see Snow raising the apple to her lips. "Stop!" cried Ash, a second too late. Snow bit into the apple and crumpled to the ground, lost in the deepest of slumbers. Ash could not believe what she had done, could not believe that after reconnecting with Snow, she might lose her all over again. Desperate to undo what she had done, Ash tried shaking her, slapping her. She even threw a bucket of ice-cold water over her. But nothing could awaken the sleeping Snow, just as the Evil Queen had predicted. Ash sat by her sister's side, holding her hand as she sobbed. Please wake up. I'm sorry. I love you. Overwhelmed with sadness and feelings of love for her sister, Ash leaned in and gently placed a tender kiss on Snow's lips. As she pulled away, Ash was startled to see Snow's eyes flickering open. The spell was broken. Ash did not know how, nor did she care. Her sister, Snow White, was awake. Whilst Ash was none the wiser, we of course know that a bad spell can be broken with true love's kiss. The beauty of love is that it comes in all forms, and this time it was not a handsome prince or a gallant knight that came to the rescue, but rather the pure and beautiful bond of two sisters, twin sisters, and no love can be truer than that. The end. And in case you're wondering, yes, they did live happily ever after. Thanks so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed it. You can read my story and many other wonderful fractured fairy tales by buying your very own copy of Once Upon a Whoops. Simply visit my website and head to the shop page. Just make sure you get Mum and Dad's permission first. Thanks again and happy reading.